All right, come on in, come on in, come on in, come on in. Let's talk about it, everybody. Let's talk about it. Listen, we got some special guests today, man, and you guys know we've been talking about this NIL stuff for probably about a year now. And look, USC has officially got this thing right. It looked like we were going to be lost in the sauce, but look, we have caught up to speed. We got a couple important guests. We got Manuel Hernandez, and then we got Jeff McKay. You guys know that last name McKay sounds very familiar. His grandfather played coached from what 1960 was it 1960 to 1975.
Yeah.
Historical coach, man. So we're gonna talk about it. Can you guys just give us a brief introduction, real quick, on who you guys are?
Yeah, Merrick, kick us off, man.
Yeah, you got it, Jeff. I got you, my brother. Hey, man. My name is Manuel Hernandez III. Everybody knows me affectionately as Murr. It's a childhood nickname I've had since I was a newborn baby from my older sister. I'm a MBA alumnus from the university, through and through. Cardinal gold runs through my blood. I've been part of the university and the football program since I was a wee little baby. Haven't missed a home football game since I was 9 years old. I've been to every road game for quite some time now. Maybe not at the USC Psycho level, but I'm definitely close to him. So needless to say, been a staple of the university and the football program for years. And I'm just super excited to launch this collective. It's been basically my life's work put together at the university. And so I've been honored to work in partnership with the McKay family. They've been amazing. Jeff has been a great friend, a great business partner, and we're ready to get this thing rocking.
All right, Jeff, can you just give us a little bit of history, man?
Yeah, so Jeff McKay, appreciate you having us on. We really appreciate it. Like Murr said, we're really excited to kind of kick off this collective. We've been working at it, for about a year now. So it's not something we came up with overnight. And Murr will get into more detail of kind of how he came up with the concept. But my name's Jeff McKay. Like Murr, grew up around USC football. My grandfather was a coach for a long time. My dad played there. So, spent most of my childhood at games, very passionate about it. And, it's been an honor to work with him. And we're really excited to kind of kick off this group and tell, everyone what we're kind of working on and what the plans are for the future.
Absolutely. So, man, once again, I appreciate you guys coming on. So let's get into this. I mean, it's very detailed. I kind of read over it, man, and it looked like it's different little aspects of it, man, that I think is great. So what is the Conquest Collective, and what does it entail as it relates to USC and the NIL?
Yeah, I'll jump in with that, and let me give you kind of the overall view of it, Jay. We really looked at what was being offered at the university and what was being successful across the country. We all know that we have the recipe here in LA through the networks, through the university, to make our NIL program special. And so I had a bird's eye view of being able to work alongside the team at Boulevard there for a little bit towards the end of their run. Had a very good pleasure working with my great friend and Trojan legend Keyshawn Johnson, as he was getting the Tommy Group together. Shout out to Tommy Group and Keyshawn, man. I love what y'all doing, man. Keep up the good work. And so I had a bird's eye view for looking at all ends of the angles. For me, my background is I work in sports on a day-to-day basis. I manage multiple NFL athletes as a financial advisor at Raymond James Financial. I've had the pleasure and honor of working with multiple former Trojan athletes that are currently in the NFL on a day-to-day basis. And so, I've had the perspective of working with pro athletes and coming from NFL or from college to the NFL ranks. And so, I started with my boys, man. Those guys they're not clients, they're my brothers, more than anything. So, and so I started asking them, hey, if you were in the era of NIL, what would you need? What would you want? How would it look? Being y'all from SC, from the Southland, some of them across the country. So I took that information in, started compiling my own way about it and putting our own flavor. And again, working in sports, I get to work with the greatest sports agencies out there, man. I've been blessed enough to work with Drew Rosenhaus over at Rosenhaus Sports. Just for an example, Zeke Sandu, who's recently went over to Clutch. Those are just some few of the guys that I've been able to build close relationships with and see how they really take care of their athletes and their clients and what they do to give value add. And so I really felt that having an agency approach to this thing would be the best thing. And it's really developed around services and education that the student athletes would need in order for us to help them elevate their likeness through NIL. So just a couple check marks that we can go through, right? You got the traditional marketing with brands that's been going on for decades. And so, of course, we're going to have that. I mean, Jeff and I talk about it all the time. We have the interlock, man. We got one of the most marketable global brands in sports to work with different brands. So the branding deals are not going to be something that's going to, be a big hurdle for us, because we understand what we have behind us in terms of the USC athletic department and all the lineage that we have. So we have the traditional marketing approach with brands, but we're going to be very detailed about how we go about those brands. We're not just going to get a dartboard and throw darts at it, right? We're going to be very strategic. We understand that branding is one of the most important things now. All these, high-level athletes that we have at the university, they're walking businesses. So we have to take that into consideration, understand what their wants or needs are, who they want to brand themselves with. And so we brought some very high-level folks in that space to come and help us out. Hayes Pollard being one of them at his company at Enclave and Key. Hayes and I have a deep relationship. He's like a brother to me, man. And he's been a stalwart at the university for years. And coming from Crenshaw, he has the understanding of the layout in the local level. And then I can even talk about a little bit more when it comes to the social media education, which is huge for us, because, I've even talked to professional athletes to say sometimes, you know what, man, I struggle with social media. I struggle with Twitter. I struggle with Instagram. I don't know how to maneuver myself around that, right? And so I was like, wow, okay, these guys are getting paid multi-millions, and they even have teams around them, and they struggle. So we said, okay, we need to make sure we bring this education piece to all the student athletes. So Randall Telfer, who's a former student athlete, played in the NFL, got drafted. He's going to be spearheading the attack when it comes to the social media education. He's the digital manager for Warner Records, and his Rolodex of connections in the music industry is going to pay huge dividends for the student athletes that are potentially want to go to that world as well. So that's a big part of what we do. I think I'll talk about one other aspect, and I'll kick it over to Jeff. But one of the unique aspects that I knew that we needed was the Hollywood feel to our collective. That it had to happen. I mean, Jeff could talk a little bit about it. I've heard stories from his dad, and other former Trojan greats, when in the summer times, what they would do was get internships through the studios or through pictures, and that would be a way that they would get paid, right? And that tradition has sort of left the football program and left the athletic department. And if you're not a USC junkie like me who's been around the program for years, you wouldn't know that was a big part of what we did in the summertime with student athletes. And so when I talked to Jeff about that, I said, dude, we got to bring that back. That was a staple of what we do. Everybody knows that the university is the leader when it comes to cinematic arts. I mean, from Ron Howard to Zemeckis to Lucas, I mean, the list goes on and on and on. Grazer. So we reached out. I have a dear friend, Martin French. He played on the 85 Rose Bowl team. He's a SAG card holder, done some things in Hollywood agency. We brought him on board with us, and he's going to run our Hollywood agency side of the collective for us. And it's going to be unique because student athletes now are going to be able to do roles if they're interested in acting or getting into film or producing or directing. And we're going to be able to get them roles, and their quid pro quo, like the NIL requires, is for them to go execute those roles, and we'll be able to pay them through NIL deals. And so we're super excited about that. I know by working with the program for when I did, I was an NBA from 13 to 15, so I had the honor to work alongside the coaching staff there when I was there, help out with the players. And I know sometimes it's difficult for everybody to get their class schedule on point. So if we can get them this value add and allow them the access to the Hollywood likes, I mean, it just pays dividends all around the board. So, those are three highlights of what we have. going. There's multiple other avenues there that we can get into a little bit, but that's sort of the things that I wanted to press upon. And Jeff, you can expound on anything else that I missed there, my brother.
No, Murray, you nailed it. So, I mean, I would just add on to your point, on the entertainment side, we're looking at this, not just like trying to line up, star roles in the movie, but looking for extra work, commercials. Like we do feel like there's a lot of opportunities that could be inclusive for all sports, not just, obviously the major star athletes. So we're looking, I think everything that we're working on, we really are trying to find deals that will benefit every player. And, as of yesterday, we hired our first salespeople. We've partnered with a company called Athlete Advantage, who is amazing, one of the leading NIL companies. So they've been invaluable of, here at the compliance side, here's the do's and don'ts, here's what we recommend, here are best practices from other colleges and collectives. So they've been great. And like I said, so we have our salespeople out there now, and, we have people calling, nonstop every day looking for these deals. Not to say, like, obviously the Caleb Williams of the world are very appealing, and it's probably easier to find some of those deals. But we also want every player to have opportunities.
Absolutely. We're gonna definitely get into that. Shout out to KB17. He played at USC 85. I believe it's 85. Keith Biggers. He said Martin French was his teamate.
There you go.
So, you talked about this being in development for a year, and it had to be detailed given the fact that when you talked about compliance, the compliance aspect of it, and you see a lot of schools, they jumped ahead. You looked at Texas A&M, you looked at multiple schools, Miami, and a lot of USC fans and all over the world we're getting worried. But now it seems like this thing is really shaping up, and it's really moving and grooving in a whole nother direction. And it looks like USC, I say lost in the sauce. We got a saying here that we say here, lost in the sauce. It looked like USC was about to be lost in all the sauce, but we essentially look like we turned the curve, man. And you guys ultimately did this thing the right way. So talk about that year process, man. I mean, gathering the group together, gathering the people, of course, that you guys trust, and the ex-athletes as well. Because when I looked at this collective, man, I see different aspects of it. I see ambassadors, I see managers. I'm reading through this, and I'm like, man, this thing is incredible. Let's talk about that real quick.
Murray, I'll kick it to you, but like just for the background, similar, probably not quite to the level that Murray was, but I'd been talking with other groups, trying to help out whenever possible. They have some really cool parts, each group, I think, individually of what they're doing. What was appealing to me is, Murr has a really interesting perspective on how to tackle this from his background. The relationships, I think our group collectively has is really solid. Know people and kind of various different, business sectors. So Murr, I'll kick it to you, but I mean, that was what was appealing to me, and why I wanted to get involved is that he really, really had thought this through of making it scalable and something that could have long-term success.
Yeah, I mean, Jeff hit it on the head with that. I mean, I'll tell you from my perspective, Jay, I was just naturally involved in NIL because of the work that I do. It was just kind of natural, right? I mean, there's so much crossover from being a financial advisor with multiple NFL agents and working with them and clients. It was just a natural kind of crossover that happened. And so, me being a loyal Trojan, it didn't matter what. Once I found out that Boulevard was alive and ready to go, I jumped 2 feet in and helped those guys out. Like, I was like, dude, whatever you guys need, Spencer Harris, and then we're spearheading that team over there. So I talked to Spencer multiple times, as Boulevard was sort of developed and, trying to get off the ground, so to speak. And so I saw what the university was trying to do with that initial group, and I thought they had the right idea, right? It was the agency-based content and kind of getting all these services out that we've put together. And then I've had the opportunity to do some digging myself. So I hit the road, man. I said, listen, if I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do it right, because I felt obligated to do it because of sort of what you said, Jay, lost in the sauce. That was the sentiment across the country. I mean, I flew to Texas, I flew to Tennessee, Kentucky. I went down south. I went up to talk to folks at Oregon and Miami, collectives that were actually making an impact in their at their university. And I wanted to see what they were doing, how they handled it, what they had going. And so I thought to myself, I said, listen, man, I got all these relationships with all these great former student athletes that are doing amazing things in business. What a better way to signal to the Trojan family that, you know, we got everything here in-house, right? We got the Randalls, we got the Hayeses, we got Marcus Martin and George Farmer, who's come on and helped to be a player manager for us, right? And so I started brainstorming that stuff, and Jeff's dad, JK, has been a great man around, somebody I can call and just kind of pick some stuff off his brain, especially when I worked at the university. So I let him know what I was working on and said, hey, Jay, this is what I got. This is the research I've done. This is how it's come together. And this is the team that we put together. And he was like, well, listen, this is going to work. And, you know, Jeff and I quickly joined forces, and we were able to, you know, walk through the business plan. I let him know the relationships and the guys that I had at, you know, that I know that can help out, the Adoree Jacksons of the world that can be a great ambassador for us, right? Adoree and I have a great relationship. Antoine Woods, a great Trojan great that, you know, is very vocal and supportive of the university. Help us push forward the initiative of what we have, because we need the whole Trojan family behind us. We truly do. In order for us to succeed and get where we want to go, one thing that I quickly realized is NIL is not a one-man or two-man show. It takes a village. It takes a village. And that's what we truly have. We have a Trojan village behind us. And I've been honored to lead that charge and organize it and put it all together. And Jay, to your question, what they were simple phone calls, man. When you have a brotherhood and a relationship and a trust level with certain people, you can call them and say, listen, this is what we need to do to get this thing rocking. Are you with me? This is exactly the details. This is the role you're going to play. This is how it's going to work. If you execute your role at what you do at a high level, nothing could stop us. And that's kind of where it went. And it organically built the way it built. And man, one of the aspects that I'm super jacked about is a podcast with Lendale White. I mean, Lendale.
Yeah, I was going to talk about that as well. Yeah. I see. Geared toward this specific collective. It's a podcast specifically for the Conquest, correct?
Absolutely. Yep.
Okay.
Right. So you know, Lendale and I have a great relationship. I reached to Lendale. He's doing great things in the podcast world. And so I said, listen, dude, I need you involved, man. I need you involved. And I love Lendale because his always comments to me, he says, Murr, you call the play and I run it, baby. Let me know what you need. So you know, Thunder said, okay, cool, let's do this. And yeah, man, we're fine-tuning the approach of what it's going to be, but we're going to have some Trojan greats on. We're going to talk about the NIL space. We're going to talk about the current you know, deals that we're working on. We're going to talk about, you know, culture and lifestyle and everything that imaginable under the sun. And what a better person to lead the charge for us than him, man. And so, you know, we're working on a really neat sponsorship deal to sponsor that podcast. And it's only going to keep growing, and it's going to be giving members of our membership club access to hearing this unique content that we're going to be able to come up with Lendale and the team.
Yeah, I want to talk about getting. Oh, go ahead, Jeff. Go ahead.
I was just going to add on. You know, one point that we definitely wanted to get out there is, you know, our collective's going to work with all sports. So, you know, our initial announcement, mainly because of our backgrounds, kind of came off a little football centric, but we do have plans across all sports. So we're going to kind of mimic the same strategy of athlete ambassadors for each sport, men's and women's, and talking with people who can help. The sport's been overwhelming. Like, people are really excited. You know, I think it's important to call out too that these athlete ambassadors are just doing it because they want to help the program. They don't get anything out of this. You know, I've heard kind of on social media some misinformation out there. Like, they're just doing it to help the program. There's nothing at all in this for them. So that part's been really cool. But like I said, we're going to do it for all sportsmen and women's. It's just going to, you know, take a little time to roll some of it out.
Absolutely. Murray, you mentioned Hayes Pollard, and I interviewed him a couple
Oh,
of
did
months
you?
ago. Yeah. Oh yeah, I interviewed him a couple of months ago. But one of the things that he said, he talked about, and I want to get into this part of it too. He talked about when he played in the NFL. He said I made $70,000 in a week. He said I didn't know what to do with that.
Yeah.
So thinking about that, I read a piece inside this collective what talks about mentorship and then financial literacy. And so,
Oh yeah.
can you explain to everybody how's that going to work? How you guys going to incorporate that with these
Yeah.
athletes getting paid?
You know what, Jay? I'm so glad you asked that question, my brother. I'll tell you what, man. When I hear financial literacy going on in NIL or in sports, it's just a lot of talk and not a lot of action, dude. I'll be honest with you. That's what I've seen. I'm a practitioner by trade. That's what I do. I'm a financial educator. I'm an adjunct professor at a local community college where I went. Shout out to Rio Hondo Community College in Whittier. I'm a faculty member there, been there for a while, and I teach financial literacy. And so that aspect of the collective is very near and dear to my heart, being that that's what I do on a day-to-day basis. And so how we're going to operate that, Jay, is we're going to have a kind of a combination approach between our resources here in the collective with the local Trojans and Athlete Advantage. So let me start with Athlete Advantage. What they do is they create an LLC for each one of the athletes if they don't have one already. Being that we're running this as marketing dollars, an LLC is much more tax favorable to run that money through because then they'd be able to use some expenses to deduct that. So first and foremost, Athlete Advantage is going to take the time to set that up, figure out what state, how we're going to do that. We're going to work alongside with parents or an agent if they got that. So that's going to be set up for them. Also, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be partnering with a tax firm to come in and lend a hand for the student athletes to actually have them file their taxes. Okay. Now they don't have to option into that we're just giving them an option to do that. So it's like, hey, you don't have to go out and find your CPA. We have an agreement here with the CPA that's well-versed, and they're going to be able to execute this for you. Make sure your parents are educated on what's going on. So we're going to take the onus off the student athletes' responsibility, and we're going to give them the resources to make sure that is handled in the proper way. So
yeah, and I think
go
I
ahead,
was just
Jeff.
going to add on. So even you know, deals that don't necessarily come through our collective. If any student athlete has a question, they can reach out to us. You know, it's free of charge to them. We put them in contact with whomever it might be. So the lawyers to review a contract that they've received. I mean, I can only speak for myself, but at that age, I'm not sure I would know what I was looking at and some of that. So some of it's complicated, especially on the tax side. Certainly wouldn't have known that. So it's cool. You know, the service oriented part again, like we're trying to have the people in place that can, you know, help any student athlete, you know, with any of those types of questions they receive.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I'll kind of expand upon what Jeff was saying. Yeah, to his point. Thanks for clearing that up for me too, my brother. The other thing that we're going to focus on when it comes to this piece is engagement when it comes to financial literacy. So I was able to secure a partnership with Fidelity. Fidelity is going to give a student athlete an access to this app. So the student athlete is going to be able to download an app, and they're going to have about 100 different topics at their fingertips at any point in time. So they're going to be able to go into the app, talk about whatever it is, debt to income ratio. They can talk about savings rates. They can talk about what a mutual fund is. If a student athlete has a question about that, obviously they can reach out to me or our other support team around us. So that's going to be something available to the student athletes 24/7. Anytime they log into that app, that will be accessible to them. Now, the really cool part that we're going to do when it comes to financial literacy is we're going to have a financial literacy symposium, and that's going to be the impactful part of it. So the financial literacy symposium, what we're going to be working on is we're going to get former student athletes that are doing great things in the financial service sector to come back and host panels and keynote speaks. So a guy that comes to mind off the top that's an ambassador for us and has been really supportive as we build is Devon Kennard. Super impressive gentleman, just finished his 9th year in the NFL, finished his book. Everybody on the podcast here, go buy Devon Kennard's book. He just did a book release at the university last week, and it's a financial game plan. So anybody on the call go out and support Devon. Make sure you buy your copy of him. It's great information, not just for athletes, but for every common folk that's out there. Like I said, I'm a financial practitioner, had the opportunity to buy the book and read it. And, I knew what Devon was working on. It's just really good, basic information that everybody can relate to. And so we're going to have guys like Devon coming on, another guy like Tony Burnett that played back with us in 2014-15. He does life insurance, so he's very educated in that life insurance space. He'd be able to educate the student athletes when it comes to that. I had an initial conversation with David Kurtman, who's a private banker for JP Morgan. He's going to come aboard and just, talk about that and see. And these symposiums are not supposed to be something long and drawn out. What we needed it to be is exciting, impactful, and the students athletes could get a lot of networking out of it. That's what we want to achieve when it comes to NIL, because we can not only get the student athletes money and deals. That's not going to be a problem. We need to get them educated and understand what this stuff, how it actually impacts them. And we're not here to add more schoolwork to them at all. We're very cognizant of that, but we're here to give them impactful, meaningful events from folks that they're going to be able to resonate with. And so that's the initial thought that we have. And we're super excited to get that, our initial one on the board, and we're already working through the details, and it's going to be great.
Man, you guys seem to be covering. To your point, your debt to income ratio, you can make $1 million, but if you buying up $1 million worth of stuff, you lost in the sauce all the
there
way.
You go.
So, that's very important. And it's a lot of guys, a lot of young guys, especially me being from the inner city of Los Angeles, man. Some not taught that stuff, man. I think that's very essential and very important. And I appreciate all that you guys are doing. Let me get to this question. Phil Parker says, is there a link that can be shared about the book you just mentioned? Is there a link?
Oh, yeah. I will. I don't have it on me now, but I'm going to send you. Devon has a website that you can go directly to and buy his book directly from his website.
I'll post that on my YouTube and Instagram and Twitter.
Yeah, if you go to his social, like Twitter, I'm pretty sure it's in his bio. I think you can click on it.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, one of the other things I wanted to get into as I read through this information, there is a tier system. How can all of us from the lowest to the highest, man, it doesn't matter your income, really. It's something for everybody to really get involved with. Can we talk about that real quick?
Jump in there, Jeff.
Yeah, so to start off, we wanted to build different tiers so everyone can be involved. From our research, we saw, across the country that a lot of collectives, it seemed like we're just trying to go after really wealthy donor money and not get the fans involved. So we're definitely taking a different approach, the tiered approach. So for as little as $25, and then it goes up with what the access is. But we're going to also, offer multiple different things, but, player content. I think one thing that we're excited about is lunch, dinners, cocktail hours, tailgates, events that people will be invited to, and obviously get to meet with the current players, but then we're going to lean heavily on some of the, former star athletes to be there and interact with everyone. So I think if you go on the website, it kind of explains it. Again, I'd call out like we're basically a company that right now is 4 or 5 days old. So we're constantly going to be updating that. I would say, by week, I guess it's week 0 this year, but there's going to be a lot more added by then. But I think if you go to the site now, it gives you kind of a decent explanation. But for as little as $25, you can kind of support the thing. The money goes to the team, the players, and you're going to get access, and it kind of lists all the different opportunities there.
That's a great explanation of it. I'll build upon that too. Frank Martin, who's on the executive board with Jeff and I, he's everything membership related. He's gonna attack this membership thing like no other. We have full confidence in Frank. Frank's a former student athlete. And so, Jay, we really thought about it. And I know Jeff and I had a great conversations about what's the fan, alumni, booster, what's their experience when it comes to the collective? Because we got to give them the experience as well, right? And so what we thought about it said, okay, listen, let's come up with these membership tiers. And obviously from the $25 to the $1,000 member, I want everybody on the call to understand you're going to get varying levels of access, information, entertainment, and and knowledge and gear and memorabilia about what's going on in the collective world. And so that's what we really want everybody to understand. This, one beautiful thing about NIL, Jay, I'm going to tell you this, and we've talked about this as our executive team. Everywhere you go, when you turn on NIL, it literally kind of has a negative connotation to a lot of the news. Nobody's talking about the positive stuff that can happen out of NIL. We're here to bring that positivity to the university and to the NIL landscape and total. And so what I want all the Trojan family to know that's on the call is joining our membership club. This is the first time in the history of college athletics that you can actually contribute some money and know that your money is going directly to the student athletes on the field, on the court, on the baseball diamond, on the volleyball beach, wherever you guys want your money to go. That's what we're going to be able to do. And that's what's so unique about NIL. And so we're really here to change the narrative of NIL through the landscape, not only at the university, but through the country as well. Because what's going to happen in another year or so, as we get this thing going, and everybody's going to look at this collective and say, wow, those guys really understood the business. Those guys understood what their constituents wanted, meaning our fans, our boosters, our alumni, and most importantly, our student athletes. And then we just want to be a resource for the coaching staff. We want the coaches across the country, across our athletic department to say, man, those guys are really bringing value to my players. And that's what we're committed to day in and day out. And so the membership club really, really is a unique way for everybody, the whole Trojan family, to get involved and have an impact. And $25 goes a long way for us. And we're very respectful for that hard-earned $25. I know that, man. I remember, I remember my dad getting up at 5 a.m, putting on his hard hat and his boots and going ready to, dig some ditches and put some plumbing in, man. So, we're mindful that Trojans are blue collar workers, and we all work hard for that every dollar that we get. And so whatever y'all can do and help support the cause for the student athletes, we got something for everybody. And this is an inclusive thing, and we're well aware that we need everybody in the Trojan family to jump on board with the Conquest Collective. Because when we do this, we're going to do it in a special way, and we're all going to be able to celebrate together.
Man, that's awesome. That's awesome. There's one question from Hugo. He says, and this is part of you guys, the year development, I believe. He says, why can't we pay high school athletes coming in? And we see a lot of guys, you look at these different schools, doing it, getting these mass athletes, man, and a mass group of athletes, man. So what are your thoughts on that? And can you kind of explain that to them?
Well, it's a really good question, fair question. I mean, the easy answer is the NCAA, has guidelines and rules, so we don't, obviously control what that is. We're doing everything possible, working with USC Athlete Advantage to stay compliant. So our group, there's nothing like that going on our side. Again, it's a fair question, but that's more of a higher picture legislation, I think, issue.
Yeah,
right.
I think, Jay, I could shine on and kind of piggyback on what Jeff's saying. We want to be super clear to everybody. NIL is not here for an inducement, right? That's where you see the issues going on. And I'm not trying to throw anything out there, but you saw that issue what happened with that quarterback at Florida. Okay. He got induced saying that he was going to get X amount of money when he got on campus. It wasn't there, and it blew up in their face. Now, I'm not trying to put a pie in the face at Florida. I know they got a great program down there, but I'm just using that as an example. So our team, I've been very vocal and clear to everybody on the team. We are not inducing anybody. And as you can see, Lincoln Riley, he doesn't need us to induce five-star athletes to come and pay, right? They come to play for this. That's what they come to play for. So, being what we have in store here, it's all going to be a cherry on top when we're recruiting, because he's going to be able to say, listen, you're not only going to get this, you're going to get the prestige, you're going to get the education and everything that USC sells, but our team, what we're providing, the services, the education, and the NIL dollars, because that NIL dollars we know is important, and we're thinking about that every day. That's just going to be a cherry on top. So great question. I think there's a lot of just misinformation to Jeff's point about how NIL truly works. This isn't free agency where we go buy high school athletes. We're only engaging with athletes that are signed at the University of Southern California. Once they're signed and they're athletes at our school in any sport, now they can opt into our collective and get everything that we put together for them. So we're going to be crystal clear about that. I think, Jeff has done an amazing job working with Sam Adams and Mike Bones' team and Altia Sports. And we took the education course about how that all has to play. So we're USC educated entity, quote unquote. And so, we pride ourselves in following the land of the law, following the rules, because here at USC, I mean, our brand sells itself, man. That's what we do. That's what we live on. And so we're only going to add to the value of what the interlock represents.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, hey, thank you for clarifying that up. Man, you guys seem to be doing, this is one of the most, from what I read, one of the most detailed collectives. And look, it looks like you guys are covering all aspects of it. I seen, like I said, the mentorship, then the financial literacy, and then you have the actual managers. It looks like the ex-players are going to be managers for each.
They are.
Can you just briefly talk about that, and then we'll try to shut it down. The actual managers of each player.
Yeah, I could talk a little bit, and then Jeff, you could jump in and kind of clear some things up for me as I go through my rant here. One of the most exciting things when we were building this out was getting the managers involved. Right, I've been very close to George Farmer and Marcus Martin for years. I look at this as an opportunity for them to kind of reinvent themselves after football, right? One thing that I want everything to be crystal clear about what our collective does. Our collective is going to protect athletes on the field and off the field. So that's one thing that we're signaling by building the team that we built, right? We're going to be supportive of Trojan family businesses, right? And so one of the most important aspects is the player manager role. This is, let's face it, man, that, at the end of the day, the collective, we're here for the student athletes. And so the student athletes' needs have to be first and foremost to us. That's one thing that we're aware of every day, day in and day out, as we're executing this. So, Marcus and George are gonna play sort of an agent role for the student athletes. You're gonna be working with them. They're gonna be making sure, because you got to understand about NIL, there's a quid pro quo that's involved for the student to get paid. So if we put into their contract that the student athlete needs to show up at an event or sign X amount of autographs or attend our social media education session or attend our financial literacy session, Marcus and George and their interns are going to be able to follow up with the players and say, hey guys, you're getting this check, but make sure you check the boxes of your requirements to get this money done, because we want to be compliant as possible when it comes to the NCAA and making sure that our student athletes fulfill the quid pro quo in order to get paid. And so what I've envisioned this is something that could spawn Marcus and George to another career in the next 2 or 3 years. They can go on to be marketing managers at larger firms. They could potentially get their agency card and become a professional football agent if they do desire. So this is another inlet for them to explore other career options. And that's what's so powerful about the way that the collective is built, because there's so many different things that those guys can do. And so we got the football managers in place. We got a short list of basketball and baseball managers that we're going to be working with, and also on the ladies side, the Lady Trojan side. So we're filling those things up rather quickly. Obviously, you can imagine there's a lot of people that are going to want that role. And like I said, when we built it out, I'm going to war with the men that I trust and I love. And Marcus and George were on the top of that list for me. And so that's why they got in that role. And I trust them and believe that they're going to execute that at a very high level.
Man, absolutely, man. And this is the beginning of NIL. And you look at this and you're talking about like you said, careers being started based on this, depending on how big this thing really gets. I mean, this thing could be incredible. We're gonna get ready and shut it down, but I do want to ask you. I seen that you guys were linked up with Halls of Goats as far as partnership as well. Matt Liner and Caleb Williams is involved, and then you got Greg Carlson.
Yep.
That he's involved with that as well. Can you talk about that real quick? How are you guys intertwined with one another?
Murray, you want to hit that? I mean, they've been great. So it's going to be obviously an ongoing partnership. I don't want to speak for them when they're kind of official launches for the game, but it's a little ways away. So we're talking with them about a few different areas that we might be able to partner with, from merchandise, things like that. Or what? I don't know. What am I missing?
Yeah, I think I can expound upon that. With the Hall of Goats, man, they've been trendsetters in the NIL space since NIL came out, right? They really started with the NFT world. That's where they went with it. So we're really looking at them as a gaming partner. Jay, I don't have to tell you, man. You know how important gaming is to the current student athletes and pro athletes, dude. I call my boys at, hey, guys, make sure that this gets done or whatever in the NFL world. They're like, hold on, man, I'll finish up the game. I'll call you back in 10 minutes, man. So needless to say, man, gaming is just part of the culture nowadays. So we felt that it was very important to be, bring on a gaming partner, something like the Hall of Goats. And so they're going to come on. Craig's been great in the initial conversation. He led us to a great partnership with a company we're going to sell merchandise with on our website that we're already getting loaded up with Chuck Price. And so they're going to work on some of the digital assets. They're going to work on some of the gaming pieces. And I don't want to get too far ahead and unveil what Craig and them are working on, but we're going to have some really great things that we're going to announce together here too. And so they really felt what our mantra is. And I want to make this crystal clear to everybody on the call. And you're going to know, I think there's a sentiment that there's a ton of collectives out there right now in the USC space recently, but there's really not a bunch. But I'll tell you what differentiates us, and I want this to be our mantra. This is our mantra, is that we are for the players, by the players. And that's been in from the onset of my vision, is for the players, by the players. And so you're going to hear that mantra with the Conquest Collective all the time. And so the Hall of Goats just fit that, right? Craig put his time in. He's a national championship winner. We don't have to talk about Matt and Caleb. We already know that, they want the big bronze trophy already. So they're ingrained in their Trojan legacy. So they fit the for the player, by the player mantra. They're going to be a great partner, and they got so much unique things on the gaming and the digital asset space that it's gonna be a very big value add, not only to our collective, but of course the student athletes and the fans that are gonna have be part of our membership club. So remember that, guys, for the players, by the players. Let's get that loud and clear, and that's going to be super important to the identity of our collective. The identity of our collective is that.
Man, that's awesome. That's awesome. We're getting ready. Man, look, we definitely appreciate you guys. We're almost about to hit 45 minutes. I didn't want to hold you guys. Definitely really appreciate you guys. I'm going to answer this one question. He says, are you gentlemen also involving the parents of the student athletes? He said, give LeBron a call. But are you involving the parents as well?
Man, I'll tell you what, I could take that one, Jeff, man.
Yeah,
I mean, dude, I'll tell you what, man, I love dealing with the parents. I mean, as a financial advisor that works with, young NFL draft guys that come into multi-millions of dollars in today's NFL world, it's nothing more refreshing than having a very engaged parent along for the ride. I got to give a special shout out while I do that. Is one of the best parent partnerships I've had was with Uchenna Nwosu's parents and Henry Nwosu and his mom. I mean, they've been great partners, and I look forward to meeting with all the parents, because we understand that we need a level set expectation with parents and student athletes, and making sure that, we work hand in hand on the same side together with them. I'm very experienced in that world, being that I've onboarded multiple young NFL clients, and parents are involved with them, man. These guys are 20, 21 years old, and these are their babies, right? And I have babies too. So I would want to be involved with that. So we're very, very mindful of that dynamic. Jeff, myself, and Frank, we're able to take those conversations and make sure that they understand what we're going to do and how we're going to do things, and that we're flexible. That's the one thing that I want everybody to know, that we're flexible. We understand that we're service oriented, and we're servant leaders, not only to the student athletes, but to the fans. And so we have an obligation to be servant to the whole Trojan community. And that's why we're asking for everybody's support.
Absolutely, absolutely. Look, we're getting ready to close out, and once again, we definitely, man, we appreciate you guys taking out that time, sharing all this important information, man. It looks like you guys are covering every aspect for financial literacy to everything, man. So, is there anything you guys wanted to share before you get out of here?
No, man, we really appreciate you taking the time and allowing us to kind of get the information out. I got to give one shout out. Happy birthday to Molly McKay, my 6-year-old.
Happy
Today.
birthday,
McKay,
Molly.
happy birthday,
Molly.
baby.
Probably not watching, but she'll watch later.
Absolutely,
Oh,
absolutely. Murr.
Hey, big dog, I just want to give you a sincere shout out, USCJ. You do great things, man. You know, I mean, guys like you, we need guys like you in our corner, not only just for the collective, man, but, man, for the family, dude. And I admire what you've done. I've seen some of your stuff from afar, but I'm definitely going to be a subscriber going forward, man. I just want to give you a shout out, dude, and getting your followers up and getting all the people behind you. It really says a lot about what you're doing on this channel, dude. And like, as you can tell, Jeff and I could talk about this stuff all day long. So feel free to bring us on. Feel free to bring us on at any moment in time. I want to be a regular on your show.
Hey, man, don't worry, man. You don't even got to ask. Just say, Jay, I'm coming.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I'm looking forward to doing a tailgate with you coming up for this season. Having you at our launch event when we do that. And like, I just want to let everybody again on the channel know that, man, from Jeff and I and the team, that we truly appreciate everybody's support. We're not going to be able to get this done without everybody on the call. Everybody go to our website, the Conquest Collective, join our membership club. Remember, your dollars go straight to the student athletes. And this is a way that you can actually watch the game and know that your money went to the players on the field. And so remember, guys, there's a lot of different collectives that are going to pop up, but the way that we distinguish ourselves is that we're for the players, by the players. And everybody knows that's the most powerful thing that the university has, is the players that built the legacy that what this interlock stands for, guys. So we appreciate everything that, you know, the opportunity for us to share our vision. Let us go out and execute this vision. And we just need all the support that possible, because we're not going to be able to do it alone. So we appreciate everybody.
Hey, once again, man, we thank you guys. And listen, I will get back with you guys. You guys already know tomorrow I will get back with you guys on some recruiting stuff, some other things.
Yep.
And look, man, everybody continue to. Hey, can you guys hold on for just a second? Everybody continue to stay blessed, man. Fight on, fight on, fight on.
Fight on.
Right on.
And Jay,
Thanks again, man.
if you need